think we're recording. Good evening, everyone. Let the December 2020 Brookhaven Borough Council meeting come to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag,
United States of America, to the
republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wait, she has the list.
Mrs. Mayor, would you read the list?
Yes, everyone can be seated.
Thank you.
Good evening. Deceased residents for the month of November 2020. Lois Sellers, Marcia Delosier, Veronica Binkowski, Anita Price, Louise DiVirgilio, Giuseppe Generosi, Noreen Neal. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Hold on a minute. I have to mute. We've got some, we have some dogs barking.
Oh,
So
shit.
if you have to speak, please unmute yourself. Mr. Will, will you give us a roll call, please?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Okay, Mr. Heller.
Present.
Mrs. Fuchs, you said is absent.
Mrs. Fuchs is absent.
Mrs. Heller.
Present.
Mayor Leslie.
Present.
Mr. Vasquez.
Present.
Mr. Gilroy.
Present.
Mr. Pappas.
Present.
Ms. Sawicki.
Present.
Mr. Wills.
I don't know if he's here.
Mr. Wills.
Unmute yourself, Mr. Wilson, unless that's you barking.
It's his dog.
Here,
I know you lawyers like to bark, but
Mr. Wills.
He said, I heard him.
here, got me.
Thank you. Mr. Catania.
Here.
Mrs. Boyle, is she here?
Mrs. Boyle is here.
Okay, I'll check her off. And then John Wilward, I am here. Everyone's here but Mrs. Fuchs.
Okay.
Thank you, sir. As everyone knows, are you done?
Yes.
As everyone knows, the position of VP was vacated when Mayor Leslie was appointed. So at this time, I'm going to open nominations for the position of Council Vice President. Do I have a nomination?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Hector Vasquez.
Who was that?
Oh, Mike.
Mr. Gilroy,
Mr.
Okay.
do we have a second?
I'll second.
Sherry. Sherry was second.
Sure.
Are there any other nominations? Any other nominations for the position of Council Vice President?
No.
Nominations are closed. Mr. Vasquez is a lone nomination. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any questions?
No.
Congratulations, Mr. Vasquez.
Thank you very much.
Oh.
I appreciate your faith in me to do this position.
Absolutely, sir. Mrs. Ford with the school board report
Oh, good.
Yes, thank you.
for the Coburn Elementary School.
For Coburn Elementary School, correct. And thank you for having me again. And I'm happy to report Coburn Elementary did host a food drive last month that was very successful. We collected hundreds of non-perishable items donated by Coburn Elementary families, and the food drive benefited a local city team outreach program. We also acknowledged American Education Week, which is always in November, and it's a time where we celebrate public education and honor all who take part in the daily emotional, social, and academic well-being of our children. It's really been an extraordinary year, as you all know. And in education, the Coburn Elementary staff have just completely accepted the challenge. Students and staff have just shown remarkable effort this year. as of December 2nd, PDSD is following a new COVID order that was released by the Pennsylvania Secretary of Health. Public school districts in counties that have 2 consecutive weeks of substantial transmission, and of course Delaware County is in the substantial stage, needed to attest to compliance with updated recommendations as a consideration to offer any in-person instruction, including the hybrid schedule that we currently run. So the PDSD, of course, is continuing to run the hybrid schedule. The order was signed, the compliance statement was signed. 2 parts to the order. One was an updated order of requiring the universal face coverings, and our students and staff have just been really impressively diligent in meeting the masking order. And the new order is being implemented with not much change to our current practice. And then the second recommendation there's requirements in the second recommendation that are significantly different than what was placed on the district and all the districts in the counties previously. The Department of Health issued specific metrics that would trigger a short-term closing for schools for in-person instruction and force a school to only provide remote virtual learning during that time. So they changed the metrics. When you're in the substantial range, the number of known positive cases of COVID among staff and students now will meet a minimum requirement by the state. If we meet that requirement, then the district must revert to virtual learning for a period of time, which could be 3 to 7 days, depending upon the number of students, or it could potentially be up to 14 days. However, the state does permit districts to shorten the periods once all the cleaning, contact tracing, and case management is complete. And I can tell you that in our district, the contact tracing, the cleaning, it really is, it has been stellar. Anytime we've had to do any type of contact tracing, it happens very quickly. The cleaning systems that we have in place for all of our schools, elementary, middle, and high school, again, stellar systems that are in place. So potentially we could close for a shorter amount of time. But with the new metrics under the substantial metrics, 2 to 4 staff in the same building, that over a rolling 14-day period. So they've minimized it to 2 to 4 staffs in the same building. That could potentially cause a 3 to 7 day close. 5+ students in the same building, again, could cause a longer closing. And the data is based on building data and not school-wide data. So the entire district would not necessarily close. Just a specific building would close if they met the criteria. The criteria is based on a 14-day rolling period. And so it really is, there's just a lot of moving parts to it, but we've been able to meet all the criteria. And the efforts that the Pendelco students and staff and families so far have just been really superb. And of course, we know the spread remains high because the community percentages are very high. In district, the numbers are not high at all. And if you're interested in the numbers, you can visit the Pendelco website and go to the COVID tab. And there's a COVID dashboard that gets updated each day. And you can actually track the number of cases that are happening currently in our school. So it was updated as of today, Monday, December 7th.
That's staff. Staff.
Pardon me?
Is that staff?
Yeah, it's the number of positive known cases, yes, that are in the building. So it can be staff or students.
You guys getting feedback when I talk? No?
A little bit.
A little bit.
My God. All right, go ahead, Ms. Zore.
That's okay. So if you're interested, you can go onto the dashboard and you'll see each of the schools listed, the number of positive cases, and then also the number of students who are in quarantine. And we do have students choosing to quarantine, parents choosing to quarantine their children out of an abundance of caution, or certainly if we've had students who have been had a primary contact with a parent or a sibling that has COVID. So we do have some students in quarantine. However, we have one case. Currently, we have one case. Again, that could change very quickly. We all know that. We've had one case. But again, the 14-day, once that 14-day period drops off, that one case will drop off, because that student then is finished their quarantine, returns back to school. So this new mandate essentially says that, it's a very minimum requirement. Coburn could be closed and the rest of the district could be open. Sun Valley could close, Northley could close. But with all the systems that we currently have in place regarding the cleaning and certainly our contact tracing is really tight. So the goal is to hopefully not be closed for very long. If we have to close for a day or possibly two, take care of all of it. Does anybody have any questions about any of that's happening?
Mrs. Floyd?
Yes.
So I do have one question. Have
Yes.
you seen kids that are coming in that are ill and that you're sending them home, or have parents really been, checking the temperatures of their children before they're going into the school?
I have to say that I can only speak for Coburn Elementary because I get the emails from parents. Teachers get the emails and I get all of those emails. And parents have been really, really excellent about reporting if their child had any type of symptom, they're keeping their child home. They email me, they'll email the nurse. Our nurses have just been, their level of communication right now is just is extremely high, and parents are calling them, seeking advice. But I have to say, Coburn Elementary School, I am seeing parents keep their kids home out of an abundance of caution, calling the nurse. We don't send that many kids home because most of the kids that are coming to our doors are not symptomatic. We're not seeing the symptoms. The parents are keeping them home. Again, I can only speak for Coburn Elementary, but that right now has been the trend at Coburn, that if parents are suspecting anything, they're emailing, and our students, are able to zoom in if a parent does email and say, we're not sure. Maybe they feel like they have some symptoms, or their husband has some symptoms, or possibly the child could have some symptoms, and the student's permitted to zoom in for instruction that day, and is not, is marked present for the day. So, so there's just a lot of pieces at play right now, but they're working, and parents have been really good about monitoring their children and keeping them home if they're suspecting anything at all. Sorry, that was a long answer to your question.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate the Coburn community and the parents, and how they have been communicating with the school and with the teachers and with the nurse and with myself. So I'll just put it out there again. If parents are on now, email us, call us. We're happy to take your calls and your emails, and to make sure that that you know exactly what needs to happen. But there's so much criteria that we're following, and like I said, you would all be, I know I said this at the last meeting, but you would all be very proud of your children at Coburn Elementary School, and how well how remarkable their efforts are in following all the safety protocol that we have in place in school. Yep, that's it. Any more questions? All right, well, thank you. And I will see everyone at the next meeting. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. I'll see everybody in January. Yes. All right, and go on the district website if you want to look at those numbers. We have a whole COVID dashboard, a whole COVID tab, and there's a lot of really good information there if you're interested. So, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anyone for the first session of public discussion? Is there feedback when I'm talking, folks? There was, no? I'm good now. Anyone for the first public discussion session? Going once, going twice. First session is closed. Chief Montella is fighting a fire. That gives us Chief Zebley.
Good evening, folks.
Good evening.
All right, for the month of November, the Brookhaven Police were assigned 381 CAT assignments through Delcom. Where the incidents are listed below. We had one strong arm robbery. We have a suspect that is being investigated for that. We had one aggravated assault on one of our police officers. Officer Jenkins was assaulted by a deranged subject that was in someone else's apartment. And he was attacked with a pipe. Officer Jenkins did get a bruise on his rib area. He is doing fine. That subject was arrested as well. We had a death investigation, one authorized use of auto. With 13 theft incidences, 7 were from unlocked automobiles during the nighttime and 2 separate nights. We do have one suspect for one of the nights being investigated. 2 others, 2 retail thefts were part of the other theft incidences. There was one arrest on the one retail theft. 4 fraud reports, 2 criminal mischiefs, 3 harassment complaints, 3 terroristic threats complaints, 1 trespassing arrest, 2 narcotics arrests. Both of them were from Officer Tuttle from Car Stops. Good job to him. 1 DUI arrest, 1 public intoxication, 2 mental health incidents, 17 suspicious conditions were investigated, 30 disturbances or domestic disputes were resolved. Brookhaven Police investigated and answered 13 burglar alarms, handled 13 hazardous conditions, took 20 vehicle accident reports, and we assisted other departments 20 times. 1 arrest warrant was served. In total, 16 adults were arrested. 1 juvenile was arrested from the warrant. 21 citations were issued for file and 8 warnings were issued. Total loss for victims amounts to approximately $2,607. Recovered amounts are about $169. For administrative, in November, there were 2 officers out with COVID-19 that actually tested positive. 2 others were quarantined with flu-like symptoms. 1 officer was quarantined for an off-duty exposure. All have returned to duty with no issues. A stringent COVID mitigation plan and order remains in effect. 1 officer was injured assisting in an arrest in Chester Township. That officer is returned to duty in less than a week and he's fine. Polygraphs for hiring were conducted on 3 applicants. There was a delay to polygraph operator becoming ill with COVID. Another operator was sought to complete the remaining 2. Backgrounds are being completed on applicants and training will begin in December. As far as training, Officer Wetton conducted firearms training and qualifications. And Officer Wetton also attended 8 hours of training with SWAT. In-service training was conducted by officers that's online for Act 180, which is a continuing education training. And of course, the escalation and sensitivity trainings are being pushed back because of COVID. Department shotguns are being converted to beanbag shells, as we talked in the last couple months about. The beanbags have finally shipped, and training will be scheduled. A policy will be developed, reviewed, and adopted. Once implemented, another layer of less than lethal force option will be available to the officers. And Officer Subers and I are enrolled in field training officer school coming up this week. For community relations, Brookhaven officers attended the holiday parade. And Brookhaven officers, Martin and myself, assisted in distributing dinners at the Real Church on Edwards Avenue. And that's concludes my report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wills?
Can I just ask the chief one question?
Surely.
Chief, have we heard from the borough's labor council regarding those Act 17 benefits?
Yeah, it looks like it doesn't have an exception, so we're kind of what we talked about. We had to kind of.
All right. I'll touch base with you and the mayor later this week then on
You got it.
that issue. I just wanted to make sure we eventually did hear from the borough's labor council.
Yeah, he got that back to me the next day, and it, as
Okay.
we spoke about, is what we had to do. So.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Earlier this morning, I had forwarded to the mayor, borough council, and the office manager a copy of the solicitor's report, which should now be on file in the borough municipal building. Just a few highlights from that report. Again, referencing the property at the 700 block of Marshall Road. This was a property, again, that had multiple violations of the borough's International Property Maintenance Code. We filed a complaint in equity, a petition for preliminary injunction. We were in front of Judge Barry C. Dozer of the Court of Common Pleas of Delaware County back on November 18th. The judge, in fact, granted the borough's petition for preliminary injunction, ordered the property owner to fully comply with all the borough's property maintenance codes and ordinances, and also ordered the property owner to partially reimburse the borough for the expended legal fees and court costs. Second issue on my agenda concerns the 2021 property tax millage assessment. I have worked recently in the last week with the finance chairperson, the borough treasurer, and the office manager in preparing necessary spreadsheets and performing necessary mathematical calculations to determine the property tax millage rate for 2021 for a borough revenue neutral budget. Again, this was somewhat of a larger exercise than in previous years because of the new county-wide assessment of all real estate parcels in the county of Delaware. Again, that property reassessment will become effective January the 1st of 2021. And naturally, the borough's total assessed values have increased fairly dramatically because the last reassessment occurred some 20 years ago, back in the year 2000. With regard to some action items for council's consideration this evening, I have those in the form of resolutions. First resolution I would bring to Borough Council's consideration concerns a conditional approval of the final subdivision plan for Arbor Developers LLC. This is basically a 2-lot subdivision at the very end of Zore Street. This subdivision application had been reviewed on multiple occasions by the Brookhaven Borough Planning Commission. The Planning Commission at its meeting in November voted unanimously to recommend approval of the subdivision, of course, with multiple conditions, and those conditions are a part and have been incorporated into the proposed resolution. And so if it's Borough Council's consideration to adopt that resolution, a motion would be in order at this time.
I have a motion.
I'll make the motion.
And a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Very well.
That's Freddie.
Second resolution concerns authorizing an escrow release for the completion of public improvements by Brookhaven owner Limited Partnership, a property situate at 5051 Edgemont Avenue, commonly referred to as Freddy's Restaurant. Again, this is a development that predates my appointment as solicitor. However, my review of the file indicates that the developer did in fact establish a restricted escrow account with the borough in the amount of $10,000. There have been various releases to the borough for costs that they've incurred in this particular development exercise. The property owner is now requesting a release for escrow for public improvements in the amount of $7,250.75. This escrow release has also been reviewed by the borough engineer, and Mr. Catania's office is recommending approval as well. So again, if it is the pleasure of Borough Council, a motion would be in order to adopt this resolution.
I'll make that motion.
Second, anyone?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Wills.
Third resolution for Borough Council's consideration concerns adopting procedures for the handling of certain sewer backup claims that are not covered under the borough's municipal insurance policies. As council is well aware, these procedures have been recommended for approval by the borough's liability insurance broker, Arthur J. Gallagher and Company. I have worked with the insurance broker, Mr. Larkin, and he, of course, is recommending that Borough Council seriously consider, approve, and adopt this proposed resolution. So again, if it is Borough Council's consideration, a motion would be in order to adopt this resolution.
I'll make the motion.
Before we take the motion, does anyone have any questions about the procedure?
No,
All right. Do we have the motion?
so moved.
Hector, you took the second?
Yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
And again, just for the public's edification, there is on file with the borough, basically a fairly detailed and laundry list of procedures the borough has enacted by adopting this resolution. It was prepared by Arthur J. Gallagher and Company, and certainly members of the public are free to review these procedures, certainly at their leisure if they so desire. Fourth resolution for Borough Council's consideration
Oh, the fourth one on the list.
concerns a resolution authorizing
You do that.
escrow release for the completion of certain public improvements by Pando Property Group. As we know, Pando Property is currently developing 7 single-family homes off of East Brookhaven Road. They have requested a partial escrow release. That escrow release,
Miss Wiki, when he's done reading it, I'll get to you. Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you.
I heard you.
sorry, this escrow release has been reviewed by the borough engineer. The borough engineer in writing is recommending an escrow release in the amount of $24,200, again, for the completion of certain public improvements by the Pando Property Group. So again, if it is the pleasure of Borough Council, a motion would be in order to adopt this resolution. And I am open to answer any questions from Councilwoman Sawicki at this time.
Go ahead, Janice.
Okay, my question is, we have been trying to get a deed for the property that we own on that location. I don't think we should be releasing any money until we get the proper deed, giving the property, that lot, to the borough, which is part of the developer's agreement. And I think I'm right in saying that. Once you give the money, we're not going to get the deed.
When was the last request for the deed?
I had requested that last month. I have spoken with Mr. Catania. The lot at this time, again, there is one lot that is potential to be deeded to the borough for open space.
Sure, we know.
That lot last month apparently was full of a lot of construction debris and other, I guess, items strewn on the lot. Until the lot is fully cleaned up, and I understand he's in the process of doing that now, but we don't want to accept the deed of dedication to that particular property clearly until the property is in near perfect condition. And so I would suggest that we defer accepting any deed of dedication at this time. The second issue I have to address Councilwoman Sawicki's concerns, we are still holding, Janice, this is just a partial release of escrow monies. We are still holding significant escrow monies in reserve so that we still have a lot of, I guess, pressure we can bring to bear on the developer to comply and to provide us with that deed of dedication. So I'm comfortable deferring the deed of dedication until early in 2021. And I'll take some of my kudos from the borough engineer who is on site and has had an opportunity to review, I guess, that lot that will be deeded to the borough for public improvements. I want to make sure it's in proper condition and that the land has been cleaned up and that any debris has certainly been removed so that the borough taxpayers will know that they are getting a clean piece of property.
Put that on the hook for cleanup, yeah.
Right, without any extraneous issues.
You know, just out of curiosity, do you have a ballpark figure of what the remaining escrow is that we hold?
I don't know.
Ballpark's fine. And Mr. Catania might have it. Unmute yourself there, sir.
I believe it's a little over $15,000 in that range.
Okay.
Yeah, so.
Is that enough leverage, folks?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with, in excess of 15,000 that we're holding in escrow.
Okay.
But again, that deed of dedication, that is part of the land development subdivision plan that has already been recorded. So the property owner is legally obligated to convey that parcel to us. We just want to make sure when it is in fact conveyed, it is conveyed in near perfect condition so that the taxpayers of Brookhaven are not going to be required to expend any additional sums to clean it up.
Okay, I don't really have any concerns after your explanation. Janice, are you comfortable now?
No, I'm not comfortable.
Oh.
We can prepare a deed at any time. It doesn't matter if the land is cleaned or not, period.
Well, and we had the same concern with Mr. Hill and the parcel that we were granted, the 5-acre wooded parcel behind Darken Field. He didn't run away with the land. I'm not scared. Is anyone else on council worried about it? I'm not personally. Unmute yourselves and weigh in, please.
I'm not afraid of it, especially because we need them to properly present us with the lot, and that's a big thing. Because you try and get it now, and they won't they won't be obligated to do what they planned on doing.
I'm pretty sure it's not going to slip through our hands.
Yeah, and it's only half of it, so
Janice,
I don't see it being a big issue.
Janice, anything else?
The other part of my issue, excuse me, is that the PICO grant is going to be for that piece of land that we're talking about. And I'd like to have the deed, so when PICO asks us, we can prove we are the legal owner. That's my concern. We don't want to miss that grant from PICO for the 10,000. And they're going to ask us for the deed because I don't, they haven't asked.
When's the deadline on that grant again?
Mr. Catania, could you weigh in on that?
Hey, you bring me complaints, I bring questions. I mean, I'm going to ask these questions. Any idea when the deadline is? Chuck, Charles?
Give me a second here. The deadline's passed. We filed the application already. That's what I know.
Charles, can you
Look,
tell-
I don't think, here's the thing. I don't, Mr. Lafferty, who's been handling the project for the developer, we can get I'm sure we can get a draft deed from him in a matter of days
That's fine.
for
That's
review
fine.
by the solicitor, and then have it ready. So if in fact Pico come, either one of two things, the
Right,
lot
that's-
becomes in the condition where it's acceptable to the borough, or two, Pico needs
Okay, that's fine.
some documentation, at least send in the draft agreement.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you.
Mr. Wiki
Charles. I
seems
appreciate it.
satisfied. Jay, do you want that
I
motion?
appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, just one final question to Charles, if I could. Charles, what's the current condition of that lot there?
I was there
It's
today. The
good.
curb still needs to be replaced, the curb and sidewalk. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Mr. The curb needs to be replaced. The
Mm-hmm.
sidewalk needs to be installed. The site, most of the debris is off the site. There's still a small pile there. It needs to be final graded and seeded.
Okay, well,
He is,
let's stay on top of the developer and indicate to him some of the concerns Councilwoman Sawicki has. And let's see if we can't get this done. I think in early 2021 would be appropriate.
he is
Thank you
finishing
very
up
much.
the
Thank
last
you very
house.
much.
He is finishing up the last house now.
Yeah, I
He
knew that. I
hopes
knew
to
that.
have that house occupied by Christmas. He plans to be done everything by the end of this year. I will
That's fine.
suggest to him that he takes care of this issue prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy for that last house.
Yeah, so we are clearly holding in excess of $15,000 in escrow.
About that,
Again,
yeah.
We can hold
That's
over
fine.
his head. You
That's
know,
fine.
the use and occupancy certificate, he's going to require to obviously sell and convey that last piece of real estate. And we will communicate to the developer that we are looking to obtain, obviously, that deed of dedication to that final lot ASAP.
We're good.
All right.
Thank you very much. Thank
You're-
you very much, Jay and Charles.
Yeah.
Great explanation, fellas. Janice is happy, so we should all be happy. Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Second. Mr. Vasquez seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. Jay, do you have anything else?
That concludes my report, Mr. President.
Thank you, sir. Madam Mayor, you're up.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. I just have a couple things. They're all basically like thank yous. Thank you to the fire department and police department for helping out with the 14th annual holiday cruise for kids, Toys for Tot drive with the Delco Cruisers. That was great coming through yesterday through the borough. Lots of people lining the streets. Thank you to everyone that attended the grand opening over at Dunkin'. It's now open. Everybody go over and enjoy themselves with coffee and donuts. I was approached by one of our Brookhaven Boy Scouts who is going up for Eagle Scout. He wants to present a project to us and he's trying to get everything all together. And then I will let everyone know what it will be once he gets all his plans together. He's due to make Eagle Scout in June. And happy birthday to Councilman Hector Vasquez. Today's his birthday.
Oh,
And
Happy birthday.
just want to wish everybody a safe and healthy, happy holiday season that's approaching. And that's it for my report.
Thank you for the happy birthday.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. I will read Mrs. Fuchs' report when I read mine. Ms. Sawicki.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to do the motion for the bills for December. In your packet, we do have the different funds, and for the general fund, it is $67,100.82. For the, for the sewer, it is $3,582.82. For the road fund, it's $4,500 for a total of $75,183.64. So I'm making a motion that we do approve those bills at this time.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any questions? Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, I did want to remind everybody, even though some people may not have heard at the workshop, the borough calendar for 2021 will be mailed this month, and hopefully you'll get it Christmas week. And the newsletter, hopefully we'll be able to start it in February of 2021, once we get it in the digital form. The budget, as everybody knows, it was a very tough year this year for families in the borough and for us. And I wanted to tell you that today is the first day of the inspection for the budget. There's copies at the borough. And I believe Don Fuchs was going to put it on the website so that people could look at the copy if they didn't want to come into the office. Adoption of the budget is 7 p.m. on Monday, December 21st. And the budget and all of its ordinances and resolutions will be adopted at that time.
And that is on Zoom.
Yes, it is. And the only thing I wanted to explain is about the assessment. We did receive a notice. Our new assessment for the borough is $726 million. Now, our new tax rate for 2021 is going to be 2.72. Currently, it is 4.85. So therefore, there is a reduction in that due to the increase in our assessment value. Now, the old assessment value was 407 million. So, and I just wanted to let people realize that when we say there's no tax increase, that means that the borough this year and next year will receive the same 1.93 million in real estate taxes. That's where the no tax increase comes in. Some people had an assessment increase, some had a reduction, some stayed the same. So I just wanted to explain that. When Harrisburg says no tax increase, it only means the borough cannot receive a tax increase from a real estate assessment because it's not a tax increase. But when you get your bill in February, you will say 2.72 times your new assessment. So I just wanted to try to clarify that. We will have the budget ready for adoption. Council has it, and it's going to be on the website, and it's at the municipal center. So that's really all I'm going to say, unless council has any other questions about it.
Anyone from council?
The only other thing I wanted to mention, Delcor, there was a 14% increase, so I think it's about $36. So anybody who receives
Delcor, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted people to know that. We just found that out. But that's all.
Anyone serviced by Delcor will receive a 14% hike, correct?
Right, that's correct.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Ridiculous. Mr. Gilroy.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't have much today. I still get my feet wet here, but I wanted to take time and wish everyone a happy and safe holiday. Congratulations to Councilman Vasquez, Vice President, and happy birthday.
That's nice.
That's about it there, Mr. President.
Mrs. Heller's birthday was yesterday, so
I apologize.
sure, happy belated, or I'll get yelled at.
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gilroy. Mr. Pappas.
Happy birthday to both Sherry and Hector. Real short, Mr. President. The workplace safety meeting was held in November. It was held live with all the employees attending, using the spacing and also protective masks, and with the present COVID safety protocols in place. Some of the topics that came up were questioning the updating of the present camera system, operating agreements and rights with the M2 Corporation, the company that handles the security cameras. So we'll be looking into that. Also, there's some updates to the cameras in Sampson Field and Memorial Park. They're also in the discussion. Office Manager John Willard provided a employee drug policy, which is basically a generic policy. We'll be presenting this to the Personnel Committee for review and consideration to the employee handbook. Harry Swagum has put together a new sanitizing equipment for the Borough Hall. It's an operational pneumatic spraying gun that sanitizes the offices and the hallways by misting the air with antibacterial solution. So Harry's always looking to keep us safe there within the borough confines. Also, the Planning Commission has a vacancy. The Planning Commission has any interested parties with the basic skills in reading drawings and the specifications that go along with them, read and interpret code books referring to the construction code, also zoning, knowledge of some type of level of construction, and also the knowledge of the Planning Commission in itself. Anybody who's interested and anybody would be interested in improving the borough's overall appearance would likely apply for this job. And you don't have to be a civil engineer or an architectural or have an architectural degree required. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a quick question for Mr. Pappas.
Go ahead.
When is the next safety meeting?
There will not be a safety meeting for the month of December. So we're going to have it in January.
Okay, please let me know what that date is.
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Mrs. Heller.
Okay, so the technology committee meeting for December 10th will be canceled for this month. The next one is scheduled for January 14th of 2021. There will also be no rec board this meeting this month. The next rec board will be January 28th, 2021. The parade committee met on 12/3 for the wrap up. Again, I want to thank Vaughn and Stephanie Donaway, as well as Linda Rifford, Virginia Ginny McGee, and Councilwoman Fuchs for all the help with the parade this year, as well as all the participants that actually were in the parade. Anyone that has any suggestions or would like to volunteer, please contact either Vaughn Donaway or Linda Rifford, who are the co-chairs for that parade committee. The police committee met on 12/2 to discuss budget and personnel issues. I also want to welcome the Dunkin' Donuts family to Brookhaven and wish them all the best. For emergency management, update from our coordinator, Steve Schultz. He has here the COVID money for supplies for FEMA is still in process. The Chester Creek, Chester Creek Road mitigation project is still continuing. We also have the community rating system for the National Flood Insurance Program. That recertification is almost complete. It just needs additional information. And I think that is all that I have for this. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Mrs. Fuchs' report real quick. Her ordinance committee report. Everyone received the food truck ordinance last month. Everyone on council, that is, and the members of the ordinance committee. She reminds us that it is important that we all review it and can get back to her with the feedback as soon as possible. Most importantly, the permit fee, the fee itself, the daily permit, I think she's referring to, needs to be discussed. I know there were some questions about the cost of the permit. And the ordinance committee will not meet this month. Business revitalization news. Dunkin' had their grand opening on Saturday. The owner has 6 other Dunkins as well, including the Parkside and Essence stores. He said business has been fantastic here, better than anticipated. No tech committee news. Mrs. Heller took care of that. And she has one community comment on community news. I enjoyed the Delco Cruisers Parade yesterday. Thanks to all who participated. What a great thing they do for the kids. And as of now, Providence Animal Center will be here on May 19 for the chip vaccination clinic. If that changes, she'll let us know. That's all I have for Mrs. Fuchs. I have a few items. I received.
You're gonna get to me?
I'm sorry?
You skip me.
No, you're last. You're after me.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Tell me, Mr. Vice President. You're Vice President 20 minutes and you already got a big head, huh? All right, now you screwed me up. Where was it? All right, I have this is kind of a big item. I received a letter of resignation from Harold Hampton. I believe it was early last week. Harold regrets the need to resign. He thanks us for the 40 years of service. I believe he He served as zoning officer for 40 years, outside of 1 2-year span where he was replaced by another individual, but he gave us 40 years of service. And Harold's last day will be on January 4th, 2021. So we wish Harold well. Hopefully he'll make that meeting. I believe he will make the January meeting to give us an adieu. And he's one more person that we're going to have to add to the going away parties that we haven't been able to hold thanks to COVID this year. But we will miss Harold. He's an encyclopedia of knowledge. He's great at what he does, and he will be incredibly difficult to replace. And he will hang around to help groom whomever we hire to replace him as zoning officer. So again, best wishes, Harold. Thank you for 40 years of service, of great service. So with that, I need a motion to advertise for the position of zoning officer in the Delaware County Daily Times this week, so that they can be to be determined.
So
I'll
moved.
make the motion.
Janice makes a motion. Hector, you have the second. Then you want the second.
I do it together.
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
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 I wouldn't imagine there's any opposed. Motion carries.
Yeah.
Council met in executive session on December 1st, 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. The issue was a personnel meeting. Janice already let us all know that the public budget meeting will be held Monday, 12/21/20 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. It is a public meeting. And the workshop is canceled for this month due to the close proximity and the fact that it falls on a holiday week. And for whatever reason on the calendar, the workshop was plugged in on Wednesday, 12/16 at 7 p.m. I don't think we've ever held a workshop on Wednesday. That mistake was made last year when the calendar was put out.
No, we did.
You
do
can
it.
all ignore that
Yeah, we
anyway
did it
because
Wednesday.
the workshop is canceled. So the next meeting will be the public budget meeting on 12/21 at 7 p.m. via Zoom. I have Mrs. Swick's report. Also, I have a brief COVID update. As I said at the workshop, cases are kind of surging all around Delaware County. We've doubled our daily average lately. Brookhaven is almost no different. We have 90 cases of COVID-19 in the borough within the last 30 days. Considering that our total case count was only 207 since the pandemic began, it's about 40.5% of our total cases in just the last 30 days. The deaths still read at 5. They've been stuck on 5 since August, but I do know that's not updated because I know someone that passed away of COVID just 2 weeks ago. So we're at least 6 deaths in the borough out of 207 cases. Vaccines are right around the corner. I know the FDA, meets on Thursday to approve. And if they approve the Pfizer vaccine as expected, they expect to ship them out the very next day. That was the last news that I've heard. And I talked to Leanne Kruger this morning. She has no update on the amount of vaccines that the state, much less Delaware County, will receive. She does know that hospitals and doctors and nurses will get the first doses. But again, we have no idea how many vaccines the state and Delaware County will receive. But you can probably assume that it's going to be 3-4 months possibly before the vaccine is widely available. So we're kind of in for it until then. So we've handled it for 10 months. I'm pretty sure we can do another 3-4 months of sitting in our homes, quarantining, watching Netflix. It's not all that hard, folks. Wear a mask and take care of yourselves. And I think that is all that I have. Vice President Vasquez. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm just going to echo you here for zoning. Harold Hampton's going to be a very, very hard person to replace when it comes to being a zoning officer. He's taught me a lot in, what I need to do as council, and before I was even on council as a board member on the zoning hearing board. So he will be dearly missed, and it will be very hard to replace him. Once we, COVID's gone, but like you said, we definitely need to get a party together for all those who have left us during this time. So that's all I have for zoning. For public works, I have a few things. Let's see. We had 3 sewer backups this month. One at 4103 Woodland Ave. There was a lateral blockage between the curb and the sanitary main. General Sewer was called out to assist us with the clearing of that. The other one was at 616 South Gray Street. There was no issues on our end. The homeowner was advised. And the third one was at 3746 Ridgewood. Again, this was on the homeowner, not on our end. There has been a smell that is being reported at our sewage treatment plant. I've talked to a few individuals that have called and complained about this smell. They don't always believe it's coming from our treatment plant. After talking to these individuals, they believe some of it might be coming from the refinery. I let them know that we're going to be noting wind direction and other variables at the time of the complaint, so we can reference this later on to verify if it really is coming from our sewer treatment plant or not. The team was called out to check a sinkhole at a storm sewer at 414 Edwards Drive that was reported to the engineer. On to the parks. We are undergoing a lock cylinder replacement to verify all our park buildings are secure and they don't have keys that can be duplicated very easily. So we're undergoing that right now. We got the materials to do it. We just got to go around and replace those cylinders now. Grass cutting and the trash removal is done for the season. All the extra trash cans are going to be removed and stored for the winter. The picnic benches also will be removed for the winter and repaired and repainted during the off season. 3 boulders replaced between Memorial Park and Summit. We had a complaint there of people driving vehicles on there. Hopefully this deters that from happening again. And just on to some general things for Public Works. The 2020 leaf collection has started. The leaf truck only comes to each street once. The leaves should be left out by 8 a.m. Monday morning. No return pickups are to be scheduled. The crews set up and broke down for the holiday parade. No parking signs. Trash cans were put out. Leaves were vacuumed and potholes were filled all along the holiday route. Traffic cones and barricades for the event were provided by the fire police. They're provided to the fire police. Speaking of potholes, so far the year-to-date total on potholes is 124 bags, totaling at 6,215 pounds. This month we use 34 bags at 1,700 pounds of cold patch. The police department called out the team to remove a downed tree at Dutton Mill in Lincoln. Their flags were replaced on Cambridge Island for Veterans Day. Got to keep our flags nice and clean. You don't want anything dingy up there. We got to keep the borough looking good. And we are prepping all the highway vehicles for the winter season coming up. The smaller dump trucks have the spreaders and spinners on them. Hopefully we don't need to use them this year, but who knows with the way this year's been going or in the way this upcoming year will treat us with the winter. So we have our fleet ready to go and knock on wood and hope it's not too bad. That is the end of the report I have for Public Works. And that's all I have right now, Mr. President.
Unmute yourself, Terry.
I neglected to add that, or to request a motion to approve the November council meeting and the council workshop minutes. So I need a motion to approve the November 9, 2020 council meeting minutes.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Somebody else do it. Aye.
Aye.
And I need a motion to approve the November 23rd, 2020 council workshop minutes.
That was like 2 weeks ago.
Thank you for that,
I'll
Janice.
I'll make the
Motion now?
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Happy holidays, Miss Sawicki.
Thank you.
Chief Montelli, do you want to jump on in right now? Or do you want to wait till after Mr. Catania goes?
I'll wait till after Mr. Catania goes.
All right, Mr. Catania, I didn't mean to try to bump you, but I tried
No,
to
that's
bump you.
quite all
Go
right.
ahead.
He has it. Submitting my report, a couple things I do want to mention is we opened bids for this is the 2018 small water and sewer grant that the borough received for sanitary sewer rehabilitation work along Brookhaven Road, basically near Gray Street. We received three bids for that project. The low bidder was Standard Pipe Services at $63,000. The grant amount was $390,000. So obviously there's a lot of money still there to do something with. We contacted the state to see if we can't take that money and use it for the Whiteley Road storm sewer, and that was denied. We're looking to see if they'll accept us doing some sanitary sewer rehabilitation work along Edgemont Avenue at Brookhaven Road. That's been on the list for a little bit. So we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you.
We had mentioned last month about the DEP had issued a Chapter 94 violation letter for the sewer treatment plant. We submitted the corrective action plan to DEP last week. We got a response email today with some additional information that they requested. We'll prepare that response and get back to them very shortly. And then last meeting, we had the design engineer for Brookhaven Storage ask a question as to whether or not to go back through the process since they were making some revisions to the plan that was conditionally approved. Two things on that. The first part is through the land development process. This appears to be a significant change to the development. The building is increasing slightly, but more importantly it was presented as a 3-story building. Now it's a 3-story building with a basement. So it looks like they've increased the square footage of the building by at least 25%. So I believe that it would warrant going back through the planning commission and borough council approval process. The second part of that is the zoning hearing board granted an approval for that project. That approval should be reviewed by either the zoning officer, the zoning solicitor, or Mr. Wills himself to determine whether or not it needs to go back to zoning for the relief that was with the changes to the plan.
Can I ask a question, Charles?
Yeah.
If somebody has a basement in a storage like this, would it be more prone to water damage to people who are renting? I mean, it's a serious question. I really don't know the answer.
That's a tough one to answer. Not, it depends upon the site conditions. This is going to sit up on the hill when they dig the hole. They'll find out very quickly if they're hitting water or not. And I would assume that they take the necessary precautions to avoid that.
Okay, thank you.
In discussion with the design engineer today, I had mentioned to him, if you're not going to go through with the plan that was conditionally approved, you need to formally withdraw that plan. So he was going to take that back to his client. And I assume he would either go forward with addressing the comments to get that plan approved or submit an official withdrawal of the plan.
Okay, thank you, Charles.
I have a question too, and I'm sorry, it kind of goes into the line with what Janice was saying. So obviously having that basement area, it's going to be utilized for additional units for them to rent out.
That's what we believe, but we have not seen anything yet. Basically the site plan that we received just says 3 stories with basement. And I would make the assumption that basement is going to be storage units. They're not going to build all that for nothing.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Earlier this evening, Mr. Wills had a resolution to approve the subdivision for Arbor developers on Zore Street. I'm going to ask the council approve a municipal escrow amount of $12,870 plus $650 for inspections. This is strictly for the extension of Zore Street. At the time that they develop, the 2 individual lots will require additional escrow. So if council's pleasure to approve that escrow amount.
Motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, then the second thing that I would ask council to consider is the bid that was open for the 2018 Small Water and Sewer Grant, that they would award the contract to Standard Pipe Services in the low bid amount of $63,000, subject to review by the state.
I'll make that motion. Is that what you want? Do you need a
Second.
motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Any questions? Any opposed?
I did see, I saw that.
Motion carries. Thank you.
All right, that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Chief Montella. You're unmuted, sir. I think you are.
Okay,
There you are.
thank you, Mr. President. Brookhaven Fire Company's monthly report for November 2020. We had 1 fire incident, 17 non-fire, 33 mutual aid calls, 4 drills for a total of 55 for the month. We had 605 alarms so far this year. No loss on structure or contents in the borough. For the year so far, we've had $63,000 loss on structure and contents in the borough and $1,050,000 of property endangered. We did have 1 firefighter injury this month. We had one of our firefighters was struck by a vehicle while directing traffic on a hit and run incident. Thank goodness he's okay. We had our manpower. We had 55 calls, average of 14 firefighters. We were in service for 490 hours, 6,765 hours for the year. 4 training sessions, average of 25 firefighters, 225 hours of training allowed for the month, 2,414 for the year. Fire company incidents in Brookhaven Borough for the month. We had 3 gas leaks, 1 at the Save-A-Lot, Hand and Stone Massage, and Stonehill Apartments in C Building. We had 4 auto accidents, 2 at Brookhaven and Bridgewater, 1 at 352 in Dutton Mill, and 1 at Brookhaven and Mount Vernon. Assisted Chester Township on 3 building fires, 1 at 1329 Powell Road, 1642 Powell, and 1229 Raynard. We assisted Upland Fire Company on an accident at 755 Upland Avenue and a building fire on Golden Lane. Assisted Aston Township Fire Department on 2 building fires, 1 at 245 Mariah Place and 7 Gordonville Road. We had assisted Parkside Fire Company on 2 building fires, 29 West Avon Road and a building fire at Parkside Terrace. Assisted Middletown Fire Company on a building fire on Cool Valley Lane. Our monthly training was hose line advancements, gas CO and electric emergencies, CAD training, and live vehicle rescue extrication. Our COVID-19 reports were submitted to council and the mayor. We are experiencing a rather high increase of positive COVID-19 patients to the hospital. We've been notified by Riddle and Crozier hospitals that we have had confirmed cases in excess of the last 2 weeks of 8 COVID positive patients. And it's been steady lately. So
Is that your highest to date over that time span?
yeah, yes, it's the highest of all since it's been going on.
What would you
So,
say? You've about doubled maybe? Not from the low. I mean, you doubled from
Yeah.
the last peak?
Yeah, it's probably doubled. So I'm hoping it's slowing down here, but I'm not sure. And it's kind of been picking up actual homeowners, in our local as well. At first, it was mostly in long-term facilities, but it seems to be everywhere right now. So
90 in 30 days in Brookhaven, and we only have 207 overall. So that's a little over 40% of our total cases in 30 days. That's not good at all.
yeah, so that's where we're at with
And when
that.
things keep on doubling, you know what happens there. I mean, it's simple math. So
Yep. So we're working our best to keep everybody healthy in the station and our EMS personnel healthy. So far, we've been fortunate. Thank God. And then Brookhaven Fire Company submitted a letter of intent to enter a contract with Mid-Atlantic Fire and Air for our 2019 SCBA grant award for all new SCBAs for the entire company at a total award of $257,779. So that was a nice federal grant that we had, and our portion is around about 13,000 will be the fire company's portion we have to put in, but for much needed equipment, it's an awesome grant for us to get. Our ambulance report for November 2020, we had 180 ambulance calls, 107 people transported to the hospital. 116 of those calls were dispatches ALS emergencies, 64 dispatches BLS emergencies, and year to date, the ambulance is at 1,651 ambulance calls, which is really busy. So that concludes my report, Mr. President.
And you haven't had any further communication from the powers that be regarding a date or an approximate date of the distribution of the vaccine or when first responders will get it? Correct?
No, the last email that I told you about was
That
from
was
the county. And I got something today from them just giving us a warning about dry ice starting to circulate into the area in the near future, which is for that actual vaccine is required to be kept very, very cold. So we got some notification that will be starting to flow into the area. So we're hoping soon. We're really hoping soon. Hopefully we can get this vaccine out to help the people out, you know, and
well, you hope it
start to
works.
slow this spread down.
Chief Montello, are you, is the ambulance being diverted to Riddle often? Is that due to COVID?
The ambulance is currently being diverted all over the place. We've been
Okay.
transporting to Taylor, Springfield Hospital. The hospitals are closing down at times when they get to capacity. Not that they don't have floors, they don't have staffing to actually take care of the people. So when the hospital shuts down, they go on divert, and then we either go to Riddle, Springfield, Taylor, or God only knows if they all shut down. We'll just have to keep going further and further. Then it gets to be a longer turnaround time for ambulances to be available for the next two emergencies. So
That was my concern.
So
Yep.
most of our hospitals are nearing ICU capacity.
they're on and off divert at times. Like they'll go on divert for 4 or 5 hours, then they'll come off divert, and then, you know, a different hospital might go on divert after they start transferring. Like patients we would transfer to Crozier, they would start getting diverted to Riddle, and then we may fill them up till they get them on floors. You know, it gets log jammed in the ER, and then they get them up to floors, and then if they have to shut down for a short period of time, that's what they do to try to move patients around. So we have been referred out of the area, transporting people a little further at times, but as of right now, everything's open as of right now. So, but that changes hour to hour anymore.
But my question is that in the spring, they opened up Glen Mills, and you had these overflow sites. Now that you have more than double the cases of the spring peak, there's no mention of opening any overflow sites. That makes, now it could be because we now have certain therapeutics that treat it, Regeneron and some of the other ones that saved the president. And if he survives it, anyone can, let's face it, in his condition. But the fact that Glen Mills hasn't even been mentioned is kind of baffling to me. It's almost like they're kind of punting it and just holding out hope that this vaccine gets here sooner rather than later. And I think that's kind of irresponsible. It really is on the county's part. I think that's the county decision, but maybe that'll change in the next couple of weeks if the cases continue.
Right. I mean, I don't know. There's hearsay, you know, we hear it at the hospital, but that people are coming into the hospitals and they're not as sick as the first wave that was out in March and April.
I see.
They're sick, but they're, like you're saying, therapeutics are out there, things are out there, and they know how to treat it a little better. So actually people are coming in and getting released from the hospital versus coming in and getting to that ventilator stage where that's bad. Then you can't move people. Then everything does become log jam.
Oh, I see.
So they're saying that there's better treatment out here. It sounds like it came back in, but it may not be as strong as it was on initial. They seem like they're able to handle it a little better with the patients. That's what we're getting the feeling, that people are coming in and then they're going home. They're not staying in the hospital for long times. That's why the divert thing kind of makes sense with the hospitals. Yeah, they close up for a little bit, but they move them people in, get them treated. A lot of them get sent back home. So, I mean, that's a good thing that people aren't ended up on ventilators, though. It's not getting, as much to that stage.
The death rate has fallen dramatically from the spring, which is
right. People are catching it, but the death rate isn't like.
Well, help is on the way. Thank you for
Yeah.
your work.
Yep, we'll notify you as soon as we hear something about vaccine. I'll give you a notification if we hear something from the county.
You can actually give me Charles Leslie's vaccine. I'll take his. Can I do that by motion, I wonder? Is that it,
That's
sir?
Yep, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Mr. Leslie is not present. Mr. Hampton's not present. That takes us to the second public discussion session. I know Mr. DiProgetto was patiently waiting from the first one. Go ahead there, sir. Name and address.
Can you hear me?
Yes, name and address, please.
John DiProgetto, 608 Hillside Avenue, Brookhaven. I got a couple things. I need Harold Hampton to stop by my house before he leaves, please.
All right.
I have sent an email. I've tried calling him. I've gotten zero response. So I guess this is the forum to reach him. So please let him know 608 Hillside Avenue. I need a visit sometime before he leaves.
It's either smoke signals or Zoom. So you've come to the right spot. We will reach out to him.
Second, I know COVID's spiking, but I'm still a volunteer in the town, so I have a season to plan. We didn't have a season last year. I do not plan on going 2 years without a season. I'm being completely honest with you guys. So some ideas we had was to have all online registration, no hand-to-hand, for the safety of everyone. There isn't very many places allowing that, but I mean, my house is always open. The parade, we're looking at like pushing it back a week or two into mid to late April instead of earlier April. So maybe, it'll give us some time to get these numbers down a little bit. I do not believe little kids are really being impacted that much. I do understand they could spread it to others. My kids have played multiple sports between March and now. We've had zero issues.
Let me cut in real quick. From everything I read, and it's just through Google, most of the most vulnerable classes of individuals, barring a major setback with either of the two vaccines, and by then there will be even more, should be vaccinated by April. So I think we'll be having a completely different conversation by then.
Well, that's what I'm hoping. But, reading the news today with possibility of the United States not getting enough vaccines or whatever the case, hopefully they get that cleared up because, I hate to say this, but it seems like the kids are being forgotten. In my household, we believe the federal government, state and local government should be doing everything in their power to get kids back in school. Okay. We don't feel like that has been, we feel like that's been terribly mishandled by all levels of the upper government, but that's a whole nother issue. For evaluations this year, we're going to do it a little differently. Usually we go to Faith Church, separate it by divisions. This year, I believe we're going to have it up at Memorial Park. We're going to separate them based on 3 fields, and we're going to only do one age group at a time. So with that, we can social distance, keep everybody away. We're going to talk about possibly limiting 1 parent per player at the start, depending on where we're at with numbers. I know a lot of people are focused on nationally. I'm focused on Brookhaven and our surrounding county.
You always focus on, with our situation, mine and yours, and everyone in this meeting. Yeah, we focus on Delaware County and Brookhaven, of course.
So, I follow the numbers very closely. I know Brookhaven has spiked. I know a lot of people that have had it in the last month. None of them want it again. So if that tells you anything.
No, it's not pretty.
I've been lucky enough to, as far as I know, to stay clear of it. So, a couple of things we're going to have to look at. Luckily, all of our sponsors from last year are going to be transferred over this year. I'm going to be looking to talk to the board about trying to get some specials for sponsors to get their names out there at a little bit lesser of a price. We've done a pretty good job of not raising rates on families. Very I'm very mindful of the budget. Everybody knows that. I don't like spending unnecessary money on anything. But we will need to upgrade some equipment. I would like to probably work with Sherry and the borough on possibly helping us out with some safety protections with the snack bar, or in order for us to keep the prices where they are for our families, which are pretty much the lowest in Delco. And in my 10 years as president, we've never raised the rates. So I don't plan on raising the rates this year. Unfortunately, if we can't have a snack bar, we're going to have to find money somewhere.
You're referring to it, plexiglass setup?
We're just going to have to figure it out. I really don't know what the best way is going to be to do that right now, but probably some sort of plexiglass with a little hole.
Sure.
They slide stuff through, possibly maybe adding like a side window so that you can hand stuff out to. I don't think that would be a very big fix, but so I just want to let you know I'm constantly thinking about this stuff. Most of you know I coach at the middle school baseball and basketball and baseball. So, of course I've had dozens of people ask me about basketball, which I'm kind of done talking about because we're in December now and I haven't heard a word about it. So I've kind of moved on from that, but baseball is my primary focus. And
I'm sorry, I cut out or something. You haven't heard from what?
Basketball.
Oh,
we haven't heard anything about basketball from Brookhaven or Aston.
I see.
I have been looking in other towns for my kids to play. I have found one local league that's signing kids up. My kids are signed up. So if Brookhaven and Aston do decide to, let our kids play safely, of course, my kids would also play there. And so would many others. So I don't want everybody to discourage you just because numbers are high and everything else. There are safe ways to do it. The Malvern League's been playing since April, 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. at night. They got plenty of safety protocols in place. I've shared them with the basketball league. That's all I can really do. So, until we hear from them, I'm just going to assume basketball is not going to be played in Brookhaven, and I'm going to concentrate on baseball. So,
well, baseball, and you ran your, you had games up there all summer, and you didn't really have any issues that you know of. It's a different sport than basketball or hockey or anything. You don't have the contact.
We had no issues.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we had a couple scares. Kids got tested and stuff like that, and they stayed away. But nobody tested positive. So
speaking for myself, I don't have any issues with baseball. Kids need some kind of normalcy, and you've done a great job this year. I know the year sucked for you; it sucked for all of us. But considering the circumstances, I think we need to try and get the kids back out there as soon as possible. But again, basketball and close contact sports, indoor sports, are completely different animal. That's the thing.
Oh, I understand. I've been to many basketball games over the last couple months. I see how they do it, and I'm confident I could do it right. I don't run the basketball league, so I've shared what I've found out with them, and it's on them to go to you guys to get approval and all that stuff. But I'm always here to help. Denise, congratulations on mayor. Mike Hess, thank you for all your service. We all miss you around here. See you all the time. Terry, you're doing a great job, man. Great job, guys. Happy holidays, and we'll see you guys later.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for all that you do. Seriously. You do a fantastic.
JR, I do have a question.
Thank you.
Oh, yes, Sherry.
So the online registration, when do you look at, what's the time frame for that online registration?
Well, we usually open it up in January, but due to people's financial troubles and, out of work and Christmas, I believe we're going to push it back to probably the beginning of February or somewhere around there. So www.brookhavenbaseball.org. Is it .org? .com? Yeah, .org. www.brookhavenbaseball.org will be where our online registration is, and most other information. The board, I'm going to have annual meeting sometime soon, whenever we can get everybody together and do that. So I'll keep you guys posted. Sherry, I appreciate all you've done for us, and we look forward to working with you in the spring.
Yes, I have some ideas for safeguarding the snack, the snack bar. So I have a few ideas with the plexiglass. So I'll text you a little bit later. I don't think that there's going to be a great cost at all to safeguard that. So
I agree. It should be a pretty simple fix.
okay, thanks, JR.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Got it.
Mr. Dykes, you're up next.
Thank you.
Chat request.
Continuing on with recreation and what's going on.
Name and address. You've been doing this a long time. Come on, Dykes.
I'm sorry. I'm just trying to get going. We're still looking for some persons for rec board for board members as well as alternates. I do have a list of people. I'm going to try and get at least emails out to all the board members to see if they agree with people we're looking at to get that going. So that's hoping to come up. As far as we're planning, we're looking at ongoing programs for 2021. The first one on the list would be the Easter egg hunt, which would be for April the 3rd. And that's going to depend on COVID restrictions, both in the borough and the county. So we'll have to see what we have. I've talked to Mr. Wilbert about other things, so we'll do that later. The other thing that I have is a question for Mr. Wills and Mr. Catania. As you know, my next door neighbor is the next door neighbor to the two new properties on Brookhaven Road. They were telling me they were talking to the neighbor next to them. So it'd be the 307 and 311. I think it's 311 houses. The new owner at 311 thinks that the property line is by there's a trio of trees as opposed to the edge of the hedges. It's about a 10 to 15 foot difference. The owner of the house is saying that the developer told him the trees was the property line. The owner of the 307, the old property, said, no, the property line's over here. So there's some discrepancy and some questions about that line, that 10-foot line of property from where the new park is going to be all the way down to Brookhaven Road. So I don't know what's the best way of handling, wanted to let you guys know about that so they could figure out what's going on. My understanding was it followed the old property line, which would be the property line where the hedges are. Unless he was planning on deeding, I think that area there is where the sewer lines went through. So I don't know if he was thinking he was deeding that property to the borough or not. Just a question to ask, see if you guys could figure that one out.
That came up today at the site visit I had today with Mr. Lafferty. He's going to get a surveyor to stake out that line, set the property corners along that line. It does appear that the line is not over by the hedges, but we'll let the surveyor determine that, just from what I could see today, based upon the plan that was approved.
Okay, well,
what we might want to do is ask your neighbor if they could potentially get us a copy of the deed so we can then compare it to the survey subdivision plan that was done for the 315 West Brookhaven Road property.
Okay, so that would affect both the 307 West Brookhaven Road, as well as whatever the last house on Edwards Drive, because that's the whole property line. From growing up here and knowing that the property line that we all knew was where that sidewalk ends on Edwards Drive down to Brookhaven Road, was the property line.
I believe that because the fences that are running along those backyards end at that hedge line.
Correct.
But we will see when the survey is done. And again, if we can get deed from one of the or both of those properties, we can just verify that is accurate.
Okay, I will ask them if they can get you a copy of that. Or if we can do that for you then. Because they were just asking me what they should do. So I told them I'd be bringing it up and let you guys handle it. And that is all that we have. JR, you listening, JR? As the new rec board president, I am all behind baseball. Make sure we get it going this year. We'll get you guys out there somehow and do that.
Thank you, sir. I'll see you in January or something like that, whenever the next meeting.
My grandkids are there.
Oh, I know that. I'm excited to see him play this year, man. That's one of the reasons why I'm pushing him, man. My son lost his 12-year-old year last year. I coached his son when he was 12, I think. So that's a very important year to me. So, you know, I want to make sure we get it done for them.
Yep. So we'll get it going. We'll get it going. All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Dykes, thank you for bringing a positive attitude back to the rec board. It was sorely missed. You've lifted it up.
I'm sorry.
We need
I did have one other thing on that, and that is the fact that there are lots of other programs that we're looking at trying to develop. Some summer programs, some innovation type things, working with the Aston Library, bring those programs over, and just trying to make things more exciting, more things for the kids and the adults to do. You know, not just the normal calendar of events, but a more engaged recreation program in the borough. So we need lots of help from lots of people.
Great work, Tom. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is there anyone else for public discussion? Public discussion going once, going twice. Public discussion is closed. Is there anything from anyone else from council, or any more from council, I should say? Borough officials? Anyone? Happy holidays all. Thanks for sticking it out in a tough year. We'll get through it. Help is on the way. This is, what are we going to see? We're going to see you in 2 weeks for the budget meeting on Monday, December 21st at 7 p.m. via Zoom. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll take the motion.
Seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, all. Thank you.
Night.
Aye.